Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Beacon in the Storm. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today, I have a very special guest with us. I have the chairman of the Salt Lake County, Utah Republican Party here with us today, Chris Null. Hi there, Chris. How's it going?
Hi, Bradford. Good to see you again.
Absolutely. How is the weather up in Salt Lake City today?
Well, for me, it's a bit balmy, a little warm. I'm sure you disagree. Not about 92, so it's.
Well, that's cold. I got to throw a sweater on for that. So, Chris, I truly appreciate you joining us today. Why don't we begin by just telling us a little bit about yourself and kind of how did you end up in the Republican Party? How did you end up in your position today?
So I started the Republican Party really by accident. Of course, most of my life I was a Republican. I lived in Arizona, and I ended up leaving the party, to be perfectly honest with you, before moving to Utah, and wasn't real satisfied with the way the party was run there. Came to Utah, and then I saw this sign. It was just on the corner of my house that said "Come to caucus," and I didn't even caucus sounded like a bad word to me. I didn't even know what it meant, and so I showed up. Of course, my neighbors encouraged me to go, and I show up. And what I learned, what caucus was when our neighbors get together and start talking about who should represent us in the party. And I thought, oh, that's pretty good. This is interesting. There's actually some communication going on. And then they elected delegates. And surprisingly, I was elected a delegate. I had to join the party real quick, and I was elected a delegate. And I had this amazing experience where I got to meet face to face the candidates for the Republican Party, and I thought, this is amazing.
Okay.
This is a way for me to actually influence the party, and that's how it all started.
Well, that's cool. I've never had the experience of being in a caucus. Like, is it high energy? Like, what's that like?
Well, it's so what we do is we have precincts or neighborhoods, right? And so we go into those precincts and we meet as a neighborhood, and it's all of our neighbors. Most of us know each other already, but then we talk about what's important to us. What is it that we want out of the party? And then out of that, we decide to vote who should represent us as a delegate. And so yeah, there's a lot of energy. Sometimes there's a lot of really excited people.
They get spirited.
Yeah, but you know what I really like about it is that we have a lot of honest conversation in the precincts, and that to me that's really important, and that's something we try to encourage.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. It sounds like real democracy.
Yeah,
Okay,
or a
so
republic, as like we like to say.
now let's switch gears because the
Sure.
focus of the show is not necessarily about the caucus and
Sure.
necessarily the Republican Party. It's about men, and I want to ask you, what do you believe, or what does it mean to you to be a man?
To me, and this is a personal thing. To
Mhm.
me, it means being a father, being a husband, being somebody who's responsible for others, and doing my part in improving the world around me. It means that I have to be careful about my actions, my words, and represent, to be perfectly honest, represent God in one way or another, whether it be through my influence as a leader or just to my family. And so to me, that's what being a man is about.
Wonderful. I 100% agree with you. Now, on that point about being, true to God, why is that important? Why is that important for a man? How does God play into this relationship of who am I and what am I supposed to be?
Yeah, well, let me first be clear. I think it's true for a woman too, but as a man, I especially feel that it's important. We take the role as kind of the breadwinner, oftentimes of the home. We're the ones who, oftentimes the mother is the one who's with the children most of the time, and I know that's kind of traditional. And me and my wife have chosen that traditional life. And so for me, why it's so important is because that is what the traditional family has really grown out of. I don't, probably not explain that very well. Apologize, but
That's
I
okay.
just really feel strongly that is where our children grow the best is in those types of environments. And so, um, to me, that's critical in leading in that way.
Sure. Let's get back to a man's faith and his understanding and relationship with God.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was, said you're traditional. I want to get back to God.
Yeah. No. Okay. No. Yeah. I appreciate that. So, I mean, it kind of does come back to some of my maybe my political beliefs as well. Why do we have liberties? Why is it we can accomplish the things we can accomplish? Because God gave us those liberties and gave us those abilities. If I didn't believe in God, then I would have to agree that government can take away those liberties, and I would have to do what other people tell me to do. And I wouldn't be able to raise the family the way I would like to raise my family. I think that alone encourages me to believe in a God, that I don't have to believe in man and man's weaknesses, and or power over me. And so I think believing in God and being close with God empowers me to be a better man and allows me to succeed in life.
Absolutely. And this isn't a new concept, especially here in America. Our founding document, the Declaration of Independence, says, all men are created equal and we're endowed by our Creator with inalienable rights.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And that's such an important thing. I struggle a lot of times when people tell me that, they're agnostic, or they just don't believe in God. Okay, I respect that, but then you have to understand that man has power over you, and I don't believe that. I just don't believe that. I think God has given us everything. That He's given us life. He's given us this wonderful country. He's given us our jobs, our skills, and we have to recognize that.
Amen. It that point you just made, it reminds me of an old joke that you feel bad for the atheists because when they die, they're all dressed up with nowhere to go.
Haven't heard that one.
Now, we've kind of been touching on, conservative principles, and I genuinely believe that conservative principles are good for men. But I'd like to hear from you. Why do you think conservatism, republicanism, why is the Republican Party better for men than the Democratic Party?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. I think our current principles, and this may have been different over the years. So I have good Democrat friends that I think are good people. So in no way do I mean this any kind of a bash on them. But I think the principles that the Republican Party is founded on, it started with the abolition of slavery. That's where the Republican Party started. We still believe in that today. We believe that no man should be a slave of another, whether that be, actual slavery as the original term means, or debt. We shouldn't be in debt to other men, or to banks, or to whatever it might be, because that just brings us down. We believe that in life is the most sacred thing on this planet. I always find it interesting that when I'm talking to some of my friends who believe that it's their right to abort a baby, that they will say, well, it's my right it's my body. And I always think it's not your body. That little body that's inside of that woman is their body. And yes, you created it, but the moment it was created, it's theirs. And so these ideas that we believe in life, and we believe in protecting all life, birth to death, right? All these things are foundational to the preservation of our own humanity, of our own, not just physically, but our souls. And so no matter how you look at it, these basic principles are critical to the peace in my heart, to the actual, preservation of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from every aspect, these principles are really key to happiness.
Wonderful. Now, I'm assuming you believe in equality. I think you said that at
Yep.
one point. What does that mean to you? Because if I was on the liberal side, and I've worked with the liberals, I've worked with the Democrats, for them, it's everybody has the same thing at the end. It's essentially, it sounds like communism at the end of the day, if you get them to really spin it out. But for you, what does that mean? What is equality?
Yeah, so equality means equal opportunity, not necessarily equal outcomes. Equal outcomes would be great, and hey, I would love for everybody to be as successful or more successful than me. That would be fantastic. But the reality is, we're all given two eyes, we're all given a mouth, we're all given, with some slight exceptions, right? I mean, but I think we're all given some of the basics that allow us to be equal, in the sense that we can go out and get a job, we can go out and have ideas, we can go out We can build things. We can have families. We have all these capabilities that God's given us, and in that sense, we're equal. What's not equal is how we use those skills, what am I trying to say? You know, our abilities, right? And so our talents, that's what I was trying, the word I was looking for. It's really, what's not equal is that, but that's up to us. So even in that sense, at least in the US, we are equal. And so it's so critical to have that type of equality. It's not equity, but it's equality.
Beautiful. I love that answer. It's not equity, it's equality. Can I talk a little bit about Jesus and his message, if I can? Jesus talks about forgiveness so much, and just something that I've noticed in society is that on my content almost every single day, people are throwing stats at me about how men are violent, men are abusive, make up most criminals, men are this, and then I've worked with people who were reformed criminals, and when I bring up those individuals and how so many of them found God after having been caught, after having done something bad, they found God and they decided to go off and try to help other people. It seems that too many people don't want to forgive. If someone pays their price, do you think we should forgive someone?
I don't think we have a choice but to forgive. Yeah. And it's not our choice. It's God's choice. So yeah, it's difficult. And as a human being, sometimes I struggle with forgiving. But I do know in my heart that I do need to forgive and that I need to follow Christ's example. That's where you started, right? It's Christ. He's very into forgiving. I mean, he gave us that. He gave us the mercy that only he could give, that allows us to overcome our sins and overcome our weaknesses. And if he did that for us after all of our faults and failures, we have no right but to do the same for our fellow man.
Absolutely. Now, springboarding off of that, say that there's a man out there, because my audience is mostly men between the ages 18 and 35. And specifically, the audience I built was largely video gamers. And gamers kind of have this tendency toward being lonely, to feeling ostracized, to feeling they don't necessarily have a purpose, which is why they withdraw into just sitting there playing games all day long. If you had any advice that you could give to those individuals, what would you say?
I think, and there was a time where I'll probably have to admit that I was kind of in that boat as well. So I think one of the things that helped me kind of overcome some of that it was depression and frustration in my life. I think was I had to take a measured approach to what was going on around me. I think I was trying to close myself off from others who I felt were harming or were mean or cruel. And I had to take a measured approach and realize that they were struggling just as much as I was. And so when I recognized that the guy next to me who looked, 100 times better looking or had more money or had, whatever it was, that when I realized that really we were equal, and that he had the same frustrations and weaknesses as I did, then I was able to realize, okay, I am like them. Christ loves me just as much as he loves, this other person. And I was able to open up more to people. And, I think I learned a lot during those times. One of the things that I think I learned most was exposing myself to others in a way, in communication and in ways that force me and the other person to think. And when I was able to do that, when I was able to have those communications, my thought processes became more clear, became more refined. And I started to understand some of the teachings of the gospel better. I understood what it meant to forgive and what it meant to, it's interesting. Christ said, oh gosh, I'm so bad at quotes. I'm like the worst person in quotes, but oh my goodness. Well, I'll get back to it later. Anyway, something not evil. Wow. Anyway, so he encouraged us to not fight against evil with evil, right? And that's one of the things that once I learned that principle, I became more measured. I became more respected. I became more thoughtful in my processes and grew further than I could have otherwise.
Is that the house divided against itself portion? That sounds
Um,
like because they were claiming that he was banishing demons because he was a demon, and he's
oh,
like, no.
no, it was uh, wow. And I just read a really great talk on this the other day too, and I loved it so much. I actually posted about it on social media. I was so excited to read this because it was basically just saying, look, Christ he wasn't a weakling. He didn't say turn a cheek and run. He said turn a cheek and give him the other cheek, right? He said
Mhm.
we're supposed to give truth, but we're supposed to do it humbly, and we're supposed to share truth in a humble manner, not in a oh you're just an idiot, like we tend to do on social media, right?
Yeah.
And so the message was very clear to me that I need to be more measured, be more careful about what I say, because I'm never going to convince anybody that I'm right if I start out with another evil, with another insult, with another thing. So anyway, it's just anyway, I love the words of Christ. It's one of the things that lately I've especially been focusing on a lot.
Absolutely, I love it. I think one of the ones that changed me the most, because I'll admit I was lonely, I was depressed myself, and it was judge not. When that
Yeah,
one hit me,
yeah,
it's like because you don't think in terms of that normally. You have to like take a step back and realize that it's not my place to look at someone like that.
yeah.
So I really appreciate you coming on, Chris, and I know we're coming up on time here, so I want to ask. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share? Any final advice you'd like to give to any men out there who are looking for the way, looking for the path to Christ?
I would just say start with prayer. Nothing humbles your mind and opens your mind more than prayer. And then look to your loved ones around you and recognize if it's difficult. Sometimes we live in difficult families. Um, Recognize that their faults are probably very similar to your own before you start judging them, right? And just try to find ways to love. I not too long ago, it's been a few years, I decided I was gonna focus on only positive comments towards other people. And
Okay.
I did this for about 2 weeks straight. And I was very, very careful to never say anything bad about another person. And that, I think, it changed my life. And I'm not as good at it today as I probably should be, but it even that short period of time changed my life. And so, find something like that. It doesn't have to be that, but find something like that. Challenge yourself to do something like that's going to improve your life,
Mhm.
and then find something else, right? And continue, find some way to progress and to increase your knowledge and your love for others.
I like that word challenge. It's something that's not going to stop you, but it's something that's going to test you. I like
Right?
that.
Yeah.
All right, Chris Null. If anybody wanted to reach out to you, how would they do so?
They could reach out to me on social media. I'm also, like you said, I'm the chair of the Salt Lake County Republican Party. So if you go out to slcogop.com, I'm on there. On social media, it's just Chris Null. They can email me directly at chris.null@gmail.com. So
Beautiful. All right. I want to thank you. Like truly, I genuinely appreciate you coming on, taking the time to be here with us today, to share your words, share your faith with us. It's really powerful. Thank you, Chris.
thank you. Thank you, Dr. Carlton. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And for everybody else, I'm going to remind you all, keep looking for the light in the tempest. God will show you the way.